What is our fourth main topic today?
Our fourth main topic comes to us from Steve Calderon. Hey, John and crew, I went on Twitter to read several of the first reactions to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and so far they're mostly positive. One called it the best of the Ant-Man trilogy. Another one says that Paul Rudd gives his best emotional performance, while Jonathan Majors is being highly praised as Kang. What do you think of these reactions?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, coming off of like things like Doctor Strange, Thor, Love and Thunder, it's been really interesting. I've been very curious to see what the reactions would be like coming out of Ant-Man, because the ones for Doctor Strange and Thor, Love and Thunder have been a little bit more tempered than what we're used to seeing from first reactions out of the Marvel stuff, right? So I've been really, really interested, and they have been glowing. They've been really good, particularly focusing on Kang. Now, I've been a little bit, I'm not going to say pessimistic. I'll say cautious, because while Ant-Man is like one of my favorite sub franchises within the MCU itself, the I don't think the trailers have been fantastic. All right. I don't think they've been fantastic.
And apparently, they didn't really give you a sense of how big and sprawling and epic this movie is.
It's left me with a bunch of questions, but also looked like just a big CGI fest, all that kind of stuff. I don't like the fact, look, I'll say it. I don't care. I admit, I don't like the fact that Michael Pena isn't there. All right? He's one of the most wonderful parts of the Ant-Man franchise, and I don't like that he's not there. But that's fine. Fine. I trust Peyton Reed. We'll see. The reactions have been fantastic. Let's go over and take a look at some of the reactions and see if oh, good. You do know how to bring up the thing. Okay. We're going to start off here with our friend, Eric Davis. I've known Eric for a very, very long time. Eric writes, Phase 5 has begun. The new Ant-Man movie is like a psychedelic roller coaster full of frightening and hilarious oddities, plus one very menacing Kang. Big Star Wars vibes meets the MCU at its freakiest and most inventive. MODOK is a riot, but Jonathan Majors conquers. Love the ride. Now, I will put out a grain of salt about Eric, who is fantastic. Eric is great at what he does. Eric, whenever I bring up Eric in the reaction, I always mention Eric in all the reaction stuff. Somebody pointed out, John, Eric works for so-and-so. Fine, full disclosure, Eric actually works for Fandango, a company whose entire business is selling movie tickets. So fine, take that with a grain of salt. Sure, that's Eric. But make no mistake, Eric is great at what he does. That's why I like to quote him a lot. But sure, but let's move on to people who do not work for Fandango. All right? FICO wrote, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is the best of the trilogy. Higher stakes, dangers, and repercussions. It also has got one of the best MCU villains in Kang. As soon as Jonathan Majors comes in, it's his show. Kang is a scary, lean, mean, multiverse big baddie. Also, two cool post-credit scenes. So there you go. We got 2 post-credit scenes in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Keep your eyes open for that. Brian Davids writes, there comes a point where every franchise has to get weird, and the MCU has done just that with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Like all his other roles, Jonathan Majors remains endlessly compelling. We move on to Daniel Howitt, who writes, Quantumania is definitely Marvel's weirdest movie yet, but that's a good thing. It leans hard into the sci-fi side of the MCU, takes lots of wild swings. Not everything lands, but it's funny, inventive, and a good time, an enjoyable, bizarro ride into the quantum realm. This comes to us from Dempsey Pilot, who writes, had a blast with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Paul Rudd has never been better, and Jonathan Majors effortlessly conquers every second of on-screen time he gets. But the real star of the film is Jeff Lovelace's script, a reminder of how beautifully strange and mysterious the MCU still is. Courtney Howard, a little bit more tempered. She writes, after a frustratingly rough Act 1, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania finally gets going, only to end where the story should have begun. While the external stakes are clear and weighty, emotional drive felt slight and levity even lighter. That said, Jonathan Majors rules. We go on to Geek Vibes Nation, who writes, Thanos was the appetizer, while Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror is the main course. Major plays Kang with brilliance and confidence, a menacing and cunning villain with a hint of charm. Kang dominates physically and mentally. We're going to end this one off with Nora Dominic who writes, Jonathan Majors is a force in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. He's compelling, chilling, and already giving a top-notch performance. I love the complexity he brings to Kang with literally a single look. MCU really won with this casting. All right, so we're hearing across the board, it's the best of the Ant-Man franchise, which is not the most celebrated franchise in the MCU, but it is dear to my heart. I really enjoy the Ant-Man movies. I love what Peyton Reed has done. Again, I wonder how general audiences will feel about the weird psychedelic quantum realm stuff. I mean, they went out to support Doctor Strange, which made over $900 million. Doctor Strange 2, I should say, made over $900 million. I wonder how they'll react to this one. I think I will miss the more lighthearted Scott Lang. Everything I'm hearing so far is this is a more serious one. It definitely has some Ant-Man humor in it and all that kind of stuff, but everybody's saying it's definitely a more serious approach to the character. I'm hearing a lot of comparisons to Star Wars from some saying this is like the Star Wars of the MCU.
Which sounds cool to me.
Which sounds great. Everybody says exactly what we all expected. Jonathan Majors kills it as Kang. And several of them, because I've read dozens of them the other day or last night, several of them are saying this is the best MCU villain yet, like topping Thanos. That's a tall order. I'm going to wait till I see that one myself to buy into that. But it's overwhelmingly positive. It sounds really good. I still wonder how it will hit with the general movie-going audience at any rate, but we'll see.
Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea.
Rob, you saw the ones we just read. You read a whole bunch of the other ones. What are your thoughts on the reactions we're seeing for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
All of this has made me even more excited than I already was. I mean, watching the red carpet, there was a lot of actors they introduced that said, I'm so-and-so, I'm a freedom fighter. You know, I've been studying martial arts for 30 years. That's why they hired me. Like this beautiful woman, I forget the name. She's an actress. She plays a character. But that's why she's a martial arts expert. She looked like she could break anybody in half. I'm like, I've never even heard of her. I didn't know she was in this film. But when she's telling me what she does and why she's in the film, I'm like, this sounds great. You know, I'm like, I didn't know anything about this. Certainly not in the trailers. I mean, martial arts, where have we seen that? We've seen Ant-Man and Cassie and Hope run around, but we haven't seen where's this cadre of freedom fighters. And reading about the fact that it's got a Star Wars vibe to it, that there is a much larger, sprawling science fiction story. I'm curious by people saying that because we haven't seen that in the trailers. It looked, and hearing what Jonathan Majors, and I've seen a couple of clips online where Jonathan Majors has, it's scenes we've seen in the trailer, but extended versions of those scenes. He crushes it. I mean, like, he just crushes it. And I think one of the things about Kang that's different than Thanos is Thanos was somebody that thought, okay, I'm doing something for the universe. I'm getting rid of half the people here so the rest of us can live better lives. Kang's like, that man, I want to make the universe the way I want it. So it's much more personal. His villainy is
a good shot of MODOK.
Yeah, and MODOK, I mean, bring it all on. I to me, John, this movie, I can't wait to see it. It sounds bonkers. I can't wait. There's so many elements of this I'm excited to see. And I think there's a lot we just don't know about it. So I think to see it's going to be fun because we don't know what's coming. We haven't seen a lot of it. So it's going to be fun.
So, okay, this brings us then to a question that we kind of tried to address the other day, but now we're getting closer. Movie opens next week. How big can this movie open? Because again, I wonder about. I don't think this has been a tremendous marketing campaign for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think the best. Pardon me. I think the best ad they've done was it Michelob, which was the beer. Did you see that commercial? The beer commercial.
Yeah.
With Scott, right?
Yeah.
Like that was literally the best marketing they've done for this movie. And I don't think the marketing's been great. I still think it's going to look a little weird for some of the general movie-going audience. So how big can this movie open? Couple things to keep in mind. The first Ant-Man movie had an opening weekend of, anybody want to take a guess? What was the opening weekend box office number? Take a wild shot.
60 million.
You're very, very, very close. 57 million.
Wow, okay.
Second Ant-Man movie opened to an improved 75 million. Again, the Ant-Man films...
Still not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, by MCU standards,
right.
Still not a whole ton. So how big will the open... There it is. Oh, and it's a Heineken. It's a Heineken commercial. This is a great commercial, by the way. It's the one bit of marketing they did that I thought was really good. So now we're moving into the third film. And I've seen some people saying it's going to make a 200 million opening weekend. And it's not.
No.
I mean, I hope it does, but I know it's not. I'm still sitting at 120. Which would be a huge jump over the previous Ant-Man. I don't know. What are you thinking? Like with now we're gonna get some rave reviews for this thing. Where do you think the opening weekend's gonna land?
120 seems, around maybe a little more, 130, 140, even 150. The problem
You think it'd go that high?
it depends because, here's what I think about the marketing. The Marvel movies are now marketed in an almost cliche manner. And if this actually has, I thought this book that you can get this book is amazing.
That's a fantastic thing they're doing.
It's fantastic. And there's a scene where he's driving in the car where he's listening to his own books on tape, which is kind of interesting, and funny. But I think that if word gets out about what's in this movie, it could do very, very well. But their marketing, I was surprised, like I said, at the red carpet to see, I wasn't there, I was watching it, to watch and see all of these characters and all these actors that are playing these freedom fighters. I'm like, we haven't seen you. Like, I haven't seen any of these people. And I'm thinking that maybe they didn't sell this enough because the three trailers we've seen are all kind of the same.
They're all very similar.
And
yeah.
I would have thought with this movie, with the kind of craziness of it, that they would have given us a couple of very different trailers where we would have had a lot more character interaction. And if there is freedom fighters, where are they? If there's a rebel faction fighting, we've seen big bases and ships and all that, but we haven't seen, like, no one's addressing "Long live the fighters" and all the Fremen are like, yeah, we haven't seen anything like that. So I don't know.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about the reactions for Ant-Man? They're more positive than I was expecting. I still don't know how big that opening is going to be, though, because I don't think they did a great job marketing it, but we'll find out. I'm setting the line at 120. Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.